All right, the NBA is back, and I am so happy. I am so happy we got basketball back, and this is gonna be the first day. I think it's really fantastic slate of games. I got one game that I like the best, and this is gonna be my NBA play of the day, and that's gonna be the Pistons plus the 6.5 versus Atlanta. That line's moved a little bit actually from 8 down to 6.5. So some people jumping on the Pistons, and I can see why. Stan Van Gundy, who doesn't like Stan Van Gundy? I mean, the guy is a fantastic coach. It seems like now the team he has in Detroit, it's very similar to the old Magic's team he had, back in the day, a few years back. And I think they're going to be better this year. I think a lot of people believe that, and I think they will too. I know they lost Greg Monroe, but they picked up Ersan Ilyasova, who's pretty good. And I just like the makeup of this team. I like the fact that Stan Van Gundy's had more time with them now to implement his system. They're going to score. They're going to be able to score, that's for sure. They're going to have to play defense, though, if they want to try and grab like the 7th or 8th spot in the East. East is pretty weak, but Detroit, they still got a ways to go. I think they can get there. Stan Van Gundy, one of the best coaches in the NBA, in my opinion. All right, let's start talking about the Pistons. Offensively, last year they averaged 98.5 points per game, 53.4 rebounds per game. They shot 43.2% from the field, and they like to shoot the three, and they're going to stretch the floor, and they're going to put it up. So it should be a really good, exciting year for Pistons fans. You got to like Andre Drummond. He's arguably the best rebounder in the game, and what a talent. And I think free agency might be coming up for him. So Detroit fans might be a little nervous about that. Losing Greg Monroe, I don't think is going to be that big of a deal because they got some replacements for him. I like Ilyasova. I mean, I think he's a solid replacement. Jennings is still hurt, so we got to wait for him to get back. Reggie Jackson, pretty good point guard. So it's going to be interesting how it all plays out. Where they need to focus on, though, is defense. And last year, it's evident. They allowed 99.5 points per game, 51.9 rebounds per game, and allowed opponents to shoot 45.6% from the field. And that has got to change, that shooting percentage. They got to bring that down. They got to be able to defend the perimeter because interior-wise with Drummond, they're just fine. But they're going to have to get guys out in space. I don't know how good of a defender Ilyasova is. I know Greg Monroe wasn't that great. So, I know they're going to score. Can they defend? That's going to be the difference of whether or not this team makes the playoffs. Let's talk about the Hawks. Atlanta Hawks, just a fantastic organization. Mike Budenholzer coming over from the Spurs. He's done a great job. They finally bought into a system, and they're going to be tough. Offensively, last year, they were one of the best in the league. They averaged 101.8 points per game, 49.2 rebounds per game, and shot 46% from the field. Now, they addressed some issues, and that was picking up Thiago Splitter from the Spurs to address their rebounding issue, which they were weak at. That was one of the weak, even with Al Horford and Paul Millsap, they were not a good rebounding team. And, I like that they're trying to fill that gap, but what I don't like is having Carroll move on. DeMarre Carroll moved on to Toronto, and I don't think that's going to fit very well. They need somebody to defend the perimeter. And tonight against Detroit, I think we might see some growing pains out of the Hawks as they start, getting into Budenholzer's system. They got a lot of guys back, but still, with Splitter getting in there, where are the pieces going to fit? That's going to be interesting for me to see. Splitter shouldn't have a problem transitioning because he knows the system. Still, defensively, I think they're going to suffer just a little bit. Allow Detroit to stay with them tonight. Defensively, Atlanta last year, they allowed 97.3 points per game, 51.8 rebounds per game, and a 43.7% opponent shooting percentage. Decent all around. Atlanta was a good team last year. It's going to be interesting. A lot of people have them back as the number 1 seed in the East again, maybe number 2. And I don't know. I like their system. I like their pieces. Everyone's a little bit older now. They got some good veteran leadership. Teague is a great player. I've already mentioned Millsap. You got Korver who can shoot the three. He's a little bit older too as well. It's going to be interesting. Can they defend? That's what it's going to come down to. And tonight I think they're going to struggle a little bit against a Detroit team that can run up tempo, that can score. And I look for a close game that's going to go down the wire, and I think Detroit's going to go ahead and cover this spread. So it's going to be my first NBA pick of the year, the Detroit Pistons +6. We got a long way to go. So I wish you guys luck on your basketball picks or any other picks you have today.